Säger vi hej och varmt välkomna till Stora Aktiedagarna i Stockholm som aktiespararna arrangerar här i dagarna 3. And now we're going to turn this presentation into English because he might not be with us here in the standing here at the stage, but he's with us on a screen here. Gavin O'Dowd, CEO of Hayyp Group, joining us from London. Warm welcome, Gavin, and the stage, or at least the screen, is yours.
Thank you very much. It's great to be with you guys today. Apologies that I'm not with you in Stockholm. Unfortunately, I'm out of Sweden for a couple of days, so we're going to have to do this virtually. Maybe just to pop through a few slides for the first 15 minutes, and then I'll take some question and answers from there. So starting off perhaps with a first aspect as regards to who I am. My name is Gavin O'Dowd. I've been the CEO of Hayyp Group for the last 5.5 years. And part of that, I worked in the tobacco and nicotine industry for the previous 9 years, with my last role being the general manager of BAT for Sweden and Norway. While I was there, I launched the nicotine pouches, which is what's often referred to in Sweden as the white snus, which is now the fastest growing harm reduction category across Scandinavia and across the world in general. A quick summary as regards to what we stand for and why we exist. So our role is to take people from more harmful forms of tobacco and nicotine, predominantly smoking, and move them to much safer forms. Historically, this was snus, but in the last 4 to 5 years, it's been much more so nicotine pouches, which is effectively, for those of you who are not aware, it is used in exactly the same way as snus, but it extracts the nicotine from the plant and applies it directly to a pouch, so you don't get any tobacco in the products at all. When it comes to how harmful these products are relative to other products, here you can see the tobacco and nicotine risk continuum from the World Health Organization. And what you can see is that all of the products that we operate with are significantly below 5% of the harm of a cigarette. So they wipe out more than 95% of the harm for any nicotine users. When it comes to the impact that these products can have, I'd like to take a look here as regards to what the smoking rates are across a broad range of European countries. And what you can see in the chart on the left is not only does Sweden have the lowest smoking rates relative to that of any other country in Europe, but it's below 1/3 of the average. In addition to this, what you can see is that for Norway, which doesn't have as long a history of snus, it's more of a 2 decades or roughly 20 years that they've had snus well in existence in Norway. It is coming very close already to where the smoking rates are for Sweden. And if we look at Norway in a little bit more depth and move to the right-hand side of the chart, we can see per generation how smoking rates have collapsed in Norway per generation over the last 2 decades. And you can see an almost perfect correlation with that and the growth of snus and nicotine pouches over the last 2 decades in Norway. When it comes to an overarching look at the category and the industry within it, we can see radical change and strong economics coming through this space. The consumer spend in 2020 was 27 billion. We anticipated it would be 60 billion by 2025. Again, in 2020, 30% of the global sales were driven by nicotine pouches. It will be 80% by 2025, predominantly driven by the growth outside of Scandinavia in countries like the US and non-Scandinavian Europe. Due to the harm-reduced nature of the category, there is very low government excise relative to cigarettes, so there's an extremely high profit pool to be divided between the manufacturers and the retailers. Online penetration is relatively low, and it is a category which is extremely suitable for online, given the size, repetitive purchase nature, and the very low returns. And as such, we envisage that there will continue to be extremely strong growth rates for the foreseeable years, and we've envisaged this in recent years as well. Quick look as regards to what the overall category is looking like and why it is manifesting like this. So firstly, the key driver for growth in the category is there is over 1 billion smokers still in the world today, and the vast majority of whom are looking for a safer alternative. Regulators understand that simply telling people to stop using nicotine, as has been done for the last 50 years, has not been successful. There are more smokers in the world today than there has been at any point in time in history. And legislation in the last 5-6 years has much more moved towards harm reduction and moving people towards safer products rather than moving people away from nicotine in total. And on the back of this consumer demand and positive regulation, there's been a huge push from the industry into this space, with all of the large global tobacco players having invested significantly and many very credible tier 2 players as well. And what this generates is a forecast here on the right, which we've done 3 years ago and is mapping out almost perfectly so far, where you can see all of the growth going forward is coming from nicotine pouches, and it is continuing to show rapid growth across a broad geographic range. When it comes to where we are relative to our competition, we run multiple storefronts in multiple markets, and we have a range of competitors in each market. However, we are the number 1 player by far in every market that we're in, and we're roughly 11 times larger than the second largest player globally. Other players tend to come and tend to go, but we tend to continue to grow our position within the markets. And then when it comes from there as regards to what our share of the overall market and the share of the online markets are, we view our business through 4 geographic lenses: Sweden, Norway, non-Scandinavian Europe, and the US. We have a reasonable share of snus and nicotine pouches in Sweden and Norway, but we have a significantly higher share of nicotine pouches, which is the growing category in both markets. We also have very strong positions when it comes to the overall online share in these markets, with 90% and 80% respectively. When it comes to where the category is growing fastest and emerging, such as non-Scandinavian Europe and the US, we still have very low levels of market share, but we do have a high share of online penetration. So the vast majority of online sales we capture across both of these markets. What we see is that as the market matures and people become more accustomed to the category, they automatically move to buying it online as they become more experienced within the category itself. And we are very well positioned to benefit from that, as we have in recent years across both the EU and the US. A quick look as regards to one core aspect of our business, which is fundamentally different to all other e-commerce businesses, is how we gain our customers in the first place. We're in a highly regulated category, and marketing to the consumer is highly restricted, including things such as Facebook, Instagram, even Google AdWords, etc. So what we do is we always position ourselves so that we will organically be the stores that Google will send customers to in any market which we're in. And Google will alter their algorithm on a daily basis, but there's one thing which is consistent: Google will always optimize for the user experience. We succeed at this by ensuring that both our site performance is built for SEO as a primary chromosome within our infrastructure. We have unique content, which Google ranks extremely highly, and we get a lot of support from our suppliers on generating incremental unique content here. We have extremely high conversion rates and extremely high return rates, which also validates for Google that they are sending traffic to the right stores, and hence it increases our ranking. What you can see moving from there to the top right is part of the reason why we run multiple stores in every market. So you can see, for example, here in Sweden, we have Snusbolaget, we have Snus Netto, we have Netto Tobak. So each of these stores are at the top of the ranking searches within Google, and hence why we get the vast majority of the traffic. When it comes to what this means, it means that on any given day, 95% of the new customers that we gain in that day, we gain organically. We do not pay for. In addition to that, the vast majority of consumers who come to us, because of the nature of our service and our offer, tend to come back as returning customers again. And again, on any given month, over 90% of our sales is done to returning customers. This creates two dynamics around our business. One, it means we have extremely low marketing expenses relative to our sales, which you can see in the bottom right here. But more importantly than that, it creates a moat around our business, whereby if anybody sets up to compete with us at any point in time, of course, they can get the right permits, the licenses, they can buy the products and set up a website. But what they're not capable of doing is getting traffic to their store. And that is why we have maintained such a strong market position over these years. Quick look at our Logistics infrastructure, we run a combination of own warehouses where we have one just outside Stockholm, one in Oslo, and one in Houston and Texas, and 3PLs, where we have some on the east and west coasts of the US, and we have one in the UK. Because of the nature of our category, we tend to turn our stock over extremely fast, with over 15 times per annum that we convert the stock, so hence we have very strong cash conversion. We have continued to improve our warehouses and will continue to do so as our volume grows exponentially. Our primary measure of success is nicotine pouch sales, and here you can see how we have been performing in nicotine pouches over the last couple of years. We continue to show very strong performance within this space, and there is no indication of this slowing down. Like I sort of alluded to in earlier slides, all of the growth of this category is coming from nicotine pouches. Our financial targets, we are targeting that we will generate 5 billion in revenue by 2025, predominantly through organic growth. The business is already highly profitable, and in our core markets like Sweden and Norway, we are already generating above 8% of EBITDA. We are continuing to invest in new markets to get them towards critical mass, and we envisage that we will be generating a high single-digit adjusted EBIT in the short to medium term. Given the growth potential that we have within the business, it has been decided by the board that despite the very strong cash generation that we've been providing as a business, we will not be distributing dividends for the foreseeable future because the opportunities we get from reinvesting that are intense. So then just a quick sort of summary here of the overall market. So the overall nicotine pouch market is growing by roughly 40% per annum between 20 and 25, and we have been growing much faster than that so far. And the online penetration is still relatively low for this market and is continuing to grow month by month. And we have the #1 market position in all of our markets. Here, there's a quick summary of the slides that I released for the Q4 trading update. There is nothing significant in here apart from saying that everything is mapping along exactly in line with the way we anticipated. And our business is extremely resilient in times of an economic correction or a recession. The nature of the category and also the nature of our offer to consumers. If I was to paraphrase our business in 7 key points, I would say it as there is just over 1 billion smokers in the world, the vast majority of whom are looking for a safer alternative. Nicotine pouches is a perfect online product, and we are an undisputed global market leader. We have a symbiotic relationship with our suppliers where we don't just sell their products, we are also the key marketing platform for new launches coming into the markets, and we are the key insights provider for the globe, where we have a very significant insights capabilities within our organization hinged around data science, which has led us to being able to guide all of our suppliers on what new products they should launch and how they should launch them into the market. We have a regulation continues to evolve within this space, hinged on the principle of harm reduction that effectively every government has introduced across the Western world at this stage. We continue to benefit from that tightening regulation because of our capabilities within it. And we have impressive unit economics, which continue to improve as we scale the business. And I think this is extremely evident in our last 5 or 6 quarterly reports coming out, where you can see the constant improvement within it. And we have an extremely strong and capable management team with a blend of both deep digital experience and deep industry experience, which has been guiding this company for the last 5 years. So with that, I realize I have 1 minute left. So with that, I'll pass over for the Q&A and perhaps expand a little more on any questions.
Many thanks, Gavin. Nice hearing your presentation. And now it is time for some questions here. If you want to ask questions from the web or in the room, you can either write in the YouTube chat or use the phone number that is visual on the screen from time to time. But now I will start off with some. And what are the main advantages with your business model, Gavin?
Yeah. So perhaps if I start off, first of all, with what the main advantages are for the consumer. So from a consumer perspective, the key reasons why they remain so loyal to us is we tend to be offering a much broader assortment than you can find in any of the stores. So, for example, in Sweden, we have 800 SKUs, which is typical, relatively typical for all of our markets, compared to perhaps 60 SKUs that you would get at most in the best stocked retail specialist stores. And it's that breadth and assortment that the consumers are often after, especially as the product development and pace of development has been accelerating in recent years. In addition to that, there is price. Our offering is generally coming in at 15 to 20% cheaper than what you will get in grocery, and 25 to 30% cheaper to what you will get in convenience stores. It will vary a little bit from country to country, but price is definitely a key attribute to this, and part of the reason why we are benefiting in the current economic circumstances. And of course, convenience. We pride ourselves in convenience, and we've invested heavily across our footprint in order to ensure that when people order the products, they get them extremely fast. And for example, in key places such as Houston, Oslo, Stockholm, London, we tend to get the products in the hands of the consumer within 24 to 36 hours. Then when it comes to the economic model itself, it tends to be underpinned by those consumer demands. And I think it's that aspect then within the economic model of being able to gain our customers organically without having to pay for them, and those consumers generating a very healthy lifetime value for us because of the high retention rates which we have on the basis of the very strong offer and reputation that we have with our consumers. I think that's the core aspect to the front end of our business model. I think perhaps the back end, or the relationship between us and our suppliers, supplements this heavily. There's a lot of brand owners out there. Not only is there the 6 large global tobacco players, but there's also another 7 or 8 very credible tier 2 players, which are emerging very well within this space. It's a very cluttered environment. And within that environment, it is extremely complex and very expensive for people to launch a new brand. Our platforms are tailored towards communicating with people who are consciously already deciding they're going to use nicotine. And for that reason, the media capabilities that we have on our site is the key launch platform for this category. So while we only represent roughly 25% of, for example, the Swedish market when it comes to nicotine patches, we represent over 60% of the volume of all products which were launched in the last 12 months. So there's a huge byproduct that we get economic benefit from the suppliers here. I also alluded to there a moment ago as regards to the insights. Because it is such a rapidly moving space and such a high profit pool, the industry, and I know this from my prior experience, I've been the other side of the table, the industry invests heavily in understanding what the consumer is. Now, given the amount of knowledge we have to each unique consumer, we are able to guide the suppliers on exactly who their consumers are, where they are coming from, what products they used previously, if they have moved to their products, what products they're moving to, what their price elasticity is, if they're moving, and then also we have a big qualitative insight space, which is in the event that something goes wrong with somebody's brand and it's not succeeding in line with what they expect, we are able to run focus groups at home placement tests, blind product testing, etc., to in a way that no other research agency can, because they don't have the history as regards to how those consumers have behaved over the recent years and at what point in time, what triggers brought them to there. So we're able to guarantee this is a group of consumers who have behaved in a certain way. We would pick 5,000 or 10,000 of them out and understand why have they behaved in that way. And it's that media and insights piece as two supplements to the primary business of selling the products to the consumer, which makes it a very strong economic model and is driving our profitability much faster than even our top line growth.
That was a long and exciting answer, Gavin. So now I'm going to follow up with a question from the YouTube chat, which is both fun, and I expect that the answer will be a lot shorter. Do you use snus yourself, Gavin?
I do. I'm rarely without a can in my hand.
Actually, I saw it a bit before as well, because I could see the screen and I saw that you were using some. So you seem to be enjoying your products.
I am. I'm a huge convert here. I'm an ex-smoker who managed to get off smoking after a number of years on the back of snus. So I'm a huge advocate on a personal level for the journey this is having. And that's why one of the primary measures that we use as a business is how many human years have we saved. And we work very closely with the University of Ontario and the University of Southern Denmark and Karolinska to quantify what impact we have on human life expectancy. And their calculations suggest that at this point in time, we have just over 2.3 million human years saved by people that we have supported in moving away from cigarettes permanently.
Now I'm going to follow up with a question which I would like you to mention 3 different trends that is possible to see in the snus market at the moment, 3 big ones.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think the first trend is undoubtedly, if I take a look at Scandinavia, the first trend is undoubtedly a rapid slowing down of female smokers moving towards nicotine pouches, and across all ages, from early 20s up to mid to late 40s. So hence you see a huge influx of females coming into the category who weren't prepared to give up smoking for traditional snus. The second trend that I see is within the consumer space, and this is across all geographies. I see consumers looking for more interesting flavors, not childlike flavors, because we refuse to sell any products which don't meet our standards on that space, but flavors such as coffee, flavors such as citrus, flavors like this, whereby people are looking for other forms of stimulation coming through it. And this is part of the reason why so many new products are being launched into the market and why our platform is key for that space. And I think the third key trend that I see, and this is a sort of a larger trend, perhaps less from a consumer perspective, is the underlying support and the underpinning support that I see coming through from large groups such as the EU or the FDA in the US around the benefits of the products when it comes to getting, whether it be the 48 million smokers in Europe or the 36 million smokers in the US, away from cigarettes. And we see much more support coming through the political units for harm reduction and supporting that general policy, which has been coming from underpinning governments in recent years.
And now we got a new question here from the YouTube chat. It's very nice to see the energy and that people are interested in asking questions. Gavin, do you see any new potential markets, this person is wondering?
Absolutely, absolutely. So 5 years ago, we were in Sweden only. Over that number of years, we have extended across Norway and the US, and now we're across German-speaking Europe, Austria, Switzerland, and Germany, and the UK. But we see the category starting to get much more traction across a much broader range of European countries. In addition, the category is getting very strong traction across some Asian markets, but it's not markets that we're currently open towards. So we see a lot of penetration, for example, going through parts of Pakistan, parts of Indonesia, Philippines, and also parts of East Africa. So we're starting to see the category get emergence well outside of its origins in Scandinavia. And just to put it in perspective, the size of the market in the US at this point in time for nicotine pouches, although it's been quite a recent start there of about 4 years ago, is already 4 times the size of that in Scandinavia.
Do you have any plans on starting your own manufacturing of snus? Because at the moment you are selling it, but are you also going to do something on your own?
No, we're not going to move into the manufacturing space. We have part of our economic model that I alluded to a moment ago as regards to the independence that we have on being able to provide media support, which is a significantly profitable part of our business, and insight support to our partners only works so long as we remain entirely independent. As a character who once ran a snus factory, in fact ran 2 snus factories before, I have no particular interest in moving into the production space. I am much more comfortable with remaining exactly at the forefront next to the consumer, understanding the consumer and guiding those which are further behind me in the production when it comes to the value chain.
Now we got a minute for another question here. So I would like to hear, Gavin, where do you think Hayyp Group will be in 2027? What will you be able to tell me then about the company that you can't tell me today?
I guess there's not very much that I can't tell you today within reason, but I envisage that the overall category will continue to grow. Our geographic footprint will continue to grow as well. We will take more and more markets in. All indications are there will be new categories emerging in the harm reduction space as well. and we will be at the forefront of those. So we will be in a broader palette of products, offering a broader range of alternatives to people who wish to give up smoking. So frankly, I think we will expand on 3 spaces: geographically, product range, and overall offerings in the value chain, but not moving into the product production space.
Many thanks for that, Gavin. It will be very exciting to follow you and the Hayyp group going forward. But for now, I have to say thank you and goodbye and wish you all the best here in the future. Thank you, Gavin.
Thank you very much. I look forward to doing the next one face to face. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.